Hey, what's going on? Erik Cortina here. So you guys have been asking me to make a barrel cleaning video. I got a better one for you. I asked my friend Speedy, who is a Hall of Fame bench press shooter, to show us how he cleans his barrels. If you guys don't know, bench press shooters clean their barrels a lot. So who better to show us how to clean a barrel than somebody who's probably cleaned more barrels than we will ever clean in our life. All right, so let's see how Speedy cleans his barrels. This is obviously a bench press gun, but would you do it the same way with a S-class rifle?
I do all my rifles exactly the same way.
Good.
So the way we clean our bench press guns, or the way I clean them, a lot of people have different ways of doing it. Some people use the old style, the butches with the bronze brushes and all that. But we've noticed that you start to develop more wear, and as the gun starts to get a little wear in the throat, the bronze bristles will actually start eating into that. You'll see little grooves, if you have a good bore scope, start to develop beyond the part where the etching or cracking starts to throat in the neck. So since then, I've switched over to using the products made by, who makes these things?
Vortex. Is it Vortex?
No, sharpshooter.com. I use the accelerator and the wipeout patch out. They make the foam version, but it's usually too sloppy and it gets into everywhere you don't want it except for in the barrel. So usually the way I start, I'll take a carbon fiber rod with just a jag. I'll take a good fitting bore guide with the O-ring on the end to keep all the solvents from spilling back into the receiver, especially if it's conventionally bent. It'll flow down that front guard screw and possibly eat or damage the bedding. These are made by PMA. I think they make the best bore guides out there currently. I'll take a patch, stick it on the end of my jag, and I use the accelerator first because I just want to get all the loose carbon stuff that's in the barrel, and you'll see that it goes down the barrel a little bit smoother than does the patch out. So I'll get that where I feel it just starting into the rifle, and I'll actually twist my rod to the right so as to have it engage the rifling. I'll put the bore guide in there, and you'll see I'll twist this, and then once I got it started, I feel it following the helix of the rifling, I'll just push it out. And now I've got most of the carbon and stuff that's loose in there out of the bore. I'll switch over to a nylon brush. These are made by IOSO. I think they make the best of the nylon brushes out there. I'll take a little of the patch out this time, and I'll put in a little port right here, solvent port, and saturate that brush. And there again, I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll try to engage that brush by twisting the rod to the right. And once I feel it engaged, I'll slowly push it through the barrel, and I don't want the brush to go past any further than the end of the barrel. The longer you let that rod go out, the more potential you have for damaging the crown from about 4 to 7 o'clock. When I come back, I'll feel it engaged. I'll let it come back. I'll do it again, engage the rifling. I usually do this about 10 times. Re-engage, then push it with the handle. And I'm not going to go through all 10 times. I'm just going to go through a few just to show you. If I'm in a hurry, I'll use the accelerator at this point. What it does is it speeds up the process. So in bench press matches, we've got about 20, 30 minutes between coming off the line and having to go back. So we use the accelerator to speed up that process. So I'll saturate that brush with the accelerator, and I'll do the same thing about another 10 times. And then again, we're going to abbreviate that and just do it a couple of times just so you can see what I'm doing. I'll take a little patch. I'll clean off my jag. I usually clean off that brush right there, but since we're doing the video, we're not going to do it right now. Like I said, a match, we would let this sit for 15 or 20 minutes. I'll come back with another patch. And I'll put a little bit more of the patch out on there just to get all the stuff that's been soaking for a while out of the barrel. I usually just run one patch through there. You can run two if you feel it's really dirty, but one patch usually does it. And again, all I want is the patch to come out of the barrel, not to go past it any further than I need to, and then reverse it and come back. Most of the time the patches will fall off. If I feel the patch giving me any resistance, I'll walk around to the front, pick it off. After that, I'll run several more patches through there, dry the bore out. Usually 2 to 3 will do the job. If I'm gonna do this like on one of my F-class guns and I have plenty of time to let it soak overnight, I won't use the accelerator. I'll just use the patch out by itself. Let it sit overnight. It does a great job. After 2 to 3 patches of that, there's still a little bit of the solvent left in the chamber. And if you have a good bore scope, you'll see that a carbon ring will start to develop from the end of the neck towards the end of the chamber. And with another jag that's usually 1 or 2 calibers larger than the caliber you're using, this is a 6mm barrel. So in this case, I found that the 6.5 nylon brushes work the best. I'll put that into the chamber and I'll push it until I just feel it hit the end of the neck right there. You'll feel it because it starts to get really tight. And then I'll rotate this about 30 times. And there again, with inspection of a bore scope, you'll see that carbon ring is typically almost completely eliminated. So I'll just rotate this 30 times. I'll just watch the little Sinclair name come up on this handle. And I'll take it out. I'll run one more patch through there just to get that out of there. And usually if you pay attention to this last patch, you'll see when you feel get the neck just to rotate a little bit, and you'll usually see some black come out with it. Unless I've got that cover on there so that Erik and I won't die of all the fumes from this stuff in here. Oh, forgot one thing. When we're through with that, we'll the bench press shooters do it. I don't know if the F-class shooters do it or not. We'll use this Lockheed's, which is just a colloidal graphite. And what that will do, if you're starting to develop those heat cracks in your throat, it'll fill those full of the graphite and it'll coat the rest of your barrel. And the carrier evaporates, and then it will leave your bore ready for its first shot without picking up a whole lot of fouling. I usually put a little ball bearing in these bottles right here. I just saturate the patch. Let me pull it out here so you can see it. It's completely black, saturated with that colloidal graphite. Okay, we saturated the patch with a colloidal graphite, and I'll push it through until I just feel it touch the rifling again, or the end of the neck, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll twist my rod to the right again, engaging that patch into the rifling. And I'll just start to work it little by little because I really want to deposit most of that graphite right there in the throat area where you're starting to see that gas checking. And little by little, I'll just watch my rod. I'll come back and I'll move forward probably about an inch at a time or so until I finally come out the end of the barrel. And what you'll see if you look in the barrel afterwards, once the carrier evaporates, when you look down the barrel, it looks like the barrel's kind of fuzzy looking, but don't be concerned about it. It doesn't hurt the barrel or the bullet or anything. I said, usually when I do this, I'll see that my first round impacts where I want it to. It's not way off here, way off over there. So that's one reason I like to do it, because the carrier evaporates along with any solvent that may be left down in the cracks or anything when you clean this thing. And after that, we'll get a large patch. I'll take about a 45 or 50 caliber brush attached to the end of this handle. I go in there and I'll dry the chamber out. You can see there's still some solvent down at the bottom of that chamber. Clean it out second time. Lube the back of the lugs on my bolt. Sometimes the cocking cam on it. After I lube that, when I put my bolt in it the first time, I'll pull the trigger and I'll close the bolt. That allows the bolt to go as far forward as it's going to, won't scrape all the lube off. And then when you lift your bolt handle, it'll distribute all that lube across the locking lug abutments in the receiver. You're ready to go for your next round. That's it. Pretty simple.
How often do you clean?
Well, in bench rest,
let me ask
okay.
it a different way. Do you wait until your accuracy falls off to clean the barrel?
Well, let's say I put it this way. In bench rest, I won't wait till it falls off. I'm just going to assume that after 7 to 20 rounds, it's going to fall off for peak accuracy. So we'll clean every match.
Okay.
And if not, at least we'll patch out. I may not use a brush, but we'll patch all the stuff out with the accelerator and the patch out. Now on my F-class guns, what I'll do there is if I see a barrel that it's going to foul severely before I get to a 60 or 80 round string, that barrel comes right off and we'll put another one on there. You probably know as much as I do. There's barrels and there's barrels, and there are some barrels that shoot fantastic for 1 or 2 rounds and then it's dead, you know. So we kind of have a bore scope here and we evaluate that. I said when I go to the range with a new barrel, I take my bore scope with me and I evaluate the barrels I'm shooting. You know, it takes a long time, a lot of effort to do all that, but in the end, it's got great payoff for the shooter.
So in F class, you try to go at least 1 day without cleaning.
Right.
I mean, I do the same. But,
yep. But I look for a barrel that allows you to go for a whole day without cleaning.
Correct. And obviously, you clean every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, in our sport, cleanliness is next to godliness, and we can't shoot the groups we do with a barrel that's fouled, you know. And these barrels may go a lot longer without having to clean, and I've shot some 2 or 3 matches without cleaning and without seeing any deterioration or falling off of accuracy, you know. But I just don't feel comfortable taking the chance.
So you guys clean about every 15 to 20 rounds in bench rest? Or
I'd say that'd be a good estimate, yeah.
Yeah. Now, accuracy, I mean, I hear this a lot in PRS, and you know, they say I don't clean until accuracy drops off.
Right.
But it's not a light switch, correct? I mean, it's gradually, the groups are gradually getting...
Well, it depends on where it can be a light switch on some, you know. But there again, it just depends on the accuracy we're looking for. In this one, we're looking to put one shot right behind the other shot, same hole. You know, when we start shooting for score, if you shoot an X at 9 o'clock and an X at 3 o'clock, you're happy, you know. If you're shooting PRS and you're shooting many of the plate, if you hit that plate at 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, you're ecstatic, you know. So it just depends on what we're looking for. We can't compare PRS accuracy to F-class accuracy if we're looking to maintain a score or stay inside of a certain diameter. And then on this one, we're looking for diameter of a bullet hole, you know.
Correct. So I guess the question that I'm asking is, if you were shooting PRS, okay, what, you know, that's one thing that I really never have figured out when they say I don't clean until accuracy falls off. I don't know what that means, right? Because at some point, the problem with PRS that I see, if anything, it's more critical to clean, because when you miss in PRS, you don't know if it was you or it was the gun.
Right. Well, you just took the words out of my mouth. I said, for one thing, I don't think most of those shooters shoot well enough to actually tell when a rifle falls off or not, you know. But if somebody like you and I, who are maybe a little bit above the average shooter, start shooting, I don't want to take that chance on my accuracy falling off and losing the competition at the end, you know, where had I cleaned that gun prior to the match and taken the time to maybe foul it ahead of the match to be ready for, you know, a long string.
Right.
I would definitely do that, you know.
Well, I look at it like maintenance, like an oil change. You know, I don't wait until the lifters start to knock.
Right, exactly. Well, I agree with you 100% right there. I still think that these things need to be clean. One thing too to consider, especially if you put your firearm up for a period of time, especially like here in Texas where we got high humidity and high heat. If you've got a barrel that's got copper in it, and you leave that copper in there, even with the stainless barrels, which are 400 series and they're magnetics, that means that they don't have as much chromium like a 300 series or a 700 series stainless. When that copper in there starts to oxide, and you've seen sometimes when you look in the barrel, it's starting to turn green. Well, in order to form that oxide, it has to have moisture to do that. And that moisture that's forming that oxide that's formed because of the moisture, it's also giving you a potential to rust that barrel below that copper right there. So to keep that barrel clean just from that standpoint is to your benefit too, because most of the shooters are all shooting stainless barrels, all made of 400 series stainless as well. So.
Right, 416 is the most common, right?
So there again, not only do you want to maintain your barrel for accuracy, but you also want to maintain for the possibility of rusting the inside of that bore.
So in PRS, obviously in F-class and bench-rest, like you said, bench-rest you go 15 to 20 rounds. F-class we go 75 to 100.
Right.
I know some F-class guys go longer, and that's because they have tested their barrels. They know the barrel will go, but you know what I mean. You just the other thing that I find is a barrel from 100. Okay, so a barrel from 0 to 200 rounds. It's not the same barrel as a barrel from 1200 to 1600.
No, the fouling starts to grow exponentially at that point.
So you can't have the same procedure for the entire life of the barrel.
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons we use the Lockies right there to start filling in those deposits. You see where you've got those cracks from the life of that barrel getting older and older. Those cracks start to get bigger. You got a bore scope. As soon as you get to the end of the neck, you can see all those cracks starting.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and this is another reason we don't use the bronze brushes anymore. If you really look at those cracks, especially if you got like a 60-degree forward-looking bore scope like I do, where you can actually have a depth of field instead of looking straight 90 at it, you'll see that rifling almost starts to lift up like a dried piece of mud does out in your yard, and either that bullet might catch that edge and take it with it down the barrel, or that bronze brush may catch it and open that thing up, So that's one of the reasons we no longer use the bronze brushes. And there again, I don't know how much simpler you want it. All you have to do is run a patch with this. You don't even really have to use that brush. We use the brush because we're doing it in such a short time frame,
Mm-hmm.
But if you run the patch out and just let it set overnight with a bore scope, it's taking almost everything out of that barrel.
Yeah. Now, real quick. I know you're full length size.
Yes, we do full length size. Every time.
Every time. What about chasing the lands? Because I just released a video not long ago talking about how, not to maintain a one-to-one relationship. How do you feel about that? You shoot F-class and bench rest. I've never shot bench rest.
Yeah.
So
just like we were talking about earlier, I said when I do my load development for the long range guns, I think Erik and I probably do it about the same way. We establish our ESs first, and then we adjust the bullet seating depth to where we get the maximum accuracy potential out of that gun. I said bench rest, we kind of do it the opposite. We get a load that looks like it works pretty good. We adjust our bullet seating depth to where it's giving us even a tighter group, and then we start playing with our powder. The beauty that we have that PRS shooters and the F-class shooters or any of the guys that preload is that we load at the matches. So we adjust our powder over the course of the day, and basically what we're doing, we're chasing that ES, making sure that ES stays as low as possible compared to our bullet seating. And once we establish our bullet seating depth, I'll wear that whole barrel out without moving it.
Never move it.
I'll hardly ever move it.
What about your F-class rifle?
I'll just do about the same thing. I hardly ever move it.
Yeah.
Once I've established it, you know, I always keep it about the same. And I saw your video, and I have to agree with you there too. I think more people, by messing with that bullet seating depth, are going to take a gun that's relatively in tune and just take it out of tune. You know, the only time I would adjust my bullet seating depth would be when I go to a match and we load all our ammo with bullets seated long. I use about 35,000. I don't know what you do.
I use 50 just because one full turn on
Okay, well that's one full turn on his, but we do that so that we can crack that case and not have that bullet welded to the neck, you know, to make it almost feel like a new one. But you're still locked into whatever load you've got, and if you wind up in a situation where your temperature's becoming extreme and maybe you were right on the edge of a really hot load and now you're blowing primer, you can't load, a lot of times, and you may do it too, you have to move that bullet back further and further to get out of that pressure curve, you know, to where you're not damaging the gun or blowing primer or something like that. So, but other than that, I said my bullet seat depth stays pretty static, you know.
Yeah. Well, boss, thank you so much.
Alrighty.
That was good.
It's been a pleasure. Right, and I say, like I told Eric, if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up.
Thank you, boss.
All right, man.